Let's do it. So it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. So let's dive right into it. 5 years ago, this pandemic was raging. We were all figuring it out. It changed so many things. Ultimately, how did you survive that time period, and how has it affected the way that you live life now in 2025?
That is a fabulous question. Okay. So when it hit, I'm an international speaker
Yeah.
that does conferences all over the world.
Hmm.
My career was over in one day,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody canceled. Now, I didn't say they worked Zoom out and that, but it took quite a long time. But so March is when we went down in 2020. Okay. And just a few months after that, I'm very intuitive. I knew something was wrong with my heart. Now, I've had three heart surgeries in my life. Two, that was two. And something told me my valve was not working. Now, I don't have symptoms like normal people.
Yeah.
My hands were cold, my feet were cold, but my intuition said something's wrong, and because I'm thinking, it's the pandemic. I'm in my house. It's cold outside. I'm not moving around. I'm not doing exercise. But that feeling wouldn't go away. So finally, in May, when everything opened up and I could get into a hospital, they did, the test on me and they said, your valve is collapsing again. So this is the third time.
Yeah.
So here I thought I could make it through the pandemic, right? I've been through tough times in my life. I had malnutrition as a kid. I had two heart surgeries before that. I survived a DC-10 plane crash. I had open heart surgery, but now they say I have to do it again. And we have a pandemic on top of it. So, life changes. It gives you what it gives. So I live in a small town. I got one light in my town. Okay. One street, like green light, red light, whatever. And I have to go to San Francisco, 4 hours away. So I call up my heart doctor, get in, get that. They have a new procedure. They're going to book it for July. It's going to go up the groin and it's go down the throat and it's going to put a valve inside my aortic valve. Okay.
Yeah.
So I went through that surgery. You have to go through it alone. There's no one there. No one can go
Yeah.
in the hospital. You have to stay in San Francisco. You have to recover. You get back. And now I have no heart procedure to do for therapy because
Yeah.
nothing's open.
Yeah.
So I got my cat, bought a stroller for her, and I walked 500 miles in my neighborhood in the next 3 months for rehab. So people say, what did you do during the pandemic? And I couldn't talk to people because I needed to stay
Yeah.
away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, I thought, oh my gosh, what is going on? So now I want to tell you something else because I'm a past life reader. So I wanted to find out exactly why this came up three times in my life. Have things come up in your life over and over again, and you wonder where the pattern's coming from?
Yeah. It has. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the way mine was. I mean,
Yeah.
come on, at 16, they
Uh-huh.
found it. That knocked me out for the Olympics. I was a skier. Then I had it in my 50s, and here it came again. So I know we had heart issues in the family, but something said, this has got more than that. I've got lessons. Because I said, why did my valve, you know, uh, break down in 14 years? It should have lasted longer. And they said, well, you're active. And I go, that's not an excuse. It's supposed to last, right? So I am a past life reader, so I got really calm and I really went in. And part of I did this during the surgery because you can kind of leave your body during that surgery and come back, and then you have to lay there for another 6 hours and stuff. So I really asked the important questions. And I think people forget to ask that. They have a pattern in their life and they just blame everybody else, or they just say, that's my luck.
Yeah.
And I'm not that kind of personality. I
Yeah.
go, there's got to be a reason. I was in a DC-10 plane crash because I took on the airline industry, changed my life forever. There's reasons for everything. So I said, what's with this heart? So I go into this zone and I see myself as a young kind of urchin living on the streets, medieval time. Parents have died, stealing food, grubby and whatever. And the Lord of the land had seen me. So underneath all that mess, I think I looked pretty good. So he had these ladies clean me up, give me a beautiful green cape. I had a little house, 2 rooms. I had food. So that was my how I stayed alive. I was his mistress. Okay.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying the town liked me at all, but I
Right.
was living the life of, yay, I'm okay. So I'm like 15. I get pregnant. So I tell the Lord of the land that he has to divorce his wife. I mean, what do I know, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, but in that I need someone, I want someone. So uh the child I had a miscarriage, but I don't tell him. I just keep that lie up. So see how it's set. So he sends two of his henchmen. One takes a dagger, stabs me right in my aortic valve. I see this when I'm doing the past life reading. I die, I fall in that gutter with that green cape. The garbage is running down and everything. And the people in that town just let me there for like 4 days before they pick me up and bury my body. So, Joe, what you have to do when you realize you have a pattern in this life, you have to understand what that pattern is. And then you have to say, I willingly want to let go of that.
Yeah.
So I had to forgive the Lord of the land, right? He betrayed me, right? But I had to forgive the two henchmen, okay, that came. I had to forgive the whole town. You don't have to know who they are, you just have to forgive the people. But
Yeah.
most of all, I had to forgive myself for lying.
Yeah.
And after I did that, I felt this peace come over me. I pray I don't need another heart surgery in this lifetime, but it freed me up from that unworthiness because I never married in this lifetime.
Yeah.
So there that comes too.
Interesting.
So I only think a past life works when you bring it to the present life you're living now. That's the only way it's important
Yeah.
to understand that's past, but it's still living in your life now. So
Interesting. That's
so that
fascinating.
was my pandemic story.
Wow, that's the best pandemic story I've ever gotten. So, let's get to the heart and soul of what you do right now in 2025. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds. It's career day. The kid in the back of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer him?
Okay. Well, first of all, I am an international speaker and I
Yes.
speak on inner leadership. So, what I want people to know and what I want young people to know is they think the world is going to determine their life and they've got to take charge.
Yeah.
Are they going to have rejections? Yes. But you have to find out what you want. Now, you can change your career 6 times. And that's what I talk about to people. First of all, you have to have an attitude adjustment about yourself. And you're going to say, I'm going to make mistakes. So that's the first thing I talk about. Another thing I talk about is going in. When you get quiet. So for a young person, they're not going to sit down and meditate, but I'm going to say, why don't you sit on the rock outside? Why don't you look at the woods? Why don't you look at the water and say, if I can see myself in 10 years, what would I be doing? So
Yeah.
I talk about inner leadership. That's the thing I talk about most. Another thing I talk about is, do you meditate? Because we got all this confusion going on in our life. And they say, I can't meditate. I say, can you sit still or think about something? And they go, well, yeah. And I go, okay, imagine you throw a pebble and you throw it in the ocean and all you see are these waves. And then that pebble goes to the very bottom. Now, if you can get all those waves and turmoil and all that out of the way, what is that pebble doing? It's just quiet. It's still. That's the inside of you.
Yeah.
So I talk to them about that quietness. Visualize what they want. Make a vision board. I talk to people about that. But I say challenges are always come because when I thought I was young, life would go like this. Okay, just keep going up. It doesn't do that. What it does, it goes up and it goes down and it goes up and it goes down. So when it goes down, I say to people, so this is a question you ask. What do I need to learn from this?
Yeah.
Don't blame the other person. They might be dead wrong, but what do you have to learn? Once you understand that, then you can go on to the next thing. So that's what I would talk to young people about. I also talk about you have lived before
Yeah.
and you're going to live again. So these actions you do in this life, you got to be responsible for because
Yeah.
you'll pay for them at some time and you got to look at that.
Yeah. So, what did you want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream?
I was a skier. I was a
Yeah.
hopeful for the Winter
Yeah.
Olympics. I skied all the time. That was the one. The other one, then after 16, when I had my first heart surgery, I mean, I still skied a day over and over again. I live right near a ski area, but never got back to that level of competition again. So skiing, so that dream went away. Then I wanted to be an actress in Hollywood. So I put my 8 years in Hollywood, and let me tell you, it beat me up, spit me out, lied to me, cheated to me, devastated me. And I survived a DC-10 plane crash at the very end of that stint. And I had to wake up and say, this is not the path for me. And that's when I left Hollywood, after I survived and after I testified and helped change safety regulations. So I do believe we have a path, but we fall off that path many times. And the universe or opportunities come back to us. So whether we take those opportunities or not is our choice. So when I left Hollywood, I didn't have anything. I was 30 years old. I mean, I moved to Lake Tahoe. I lived in a ski cabin with 13 people. I worked as a cocktail waitress. I don't even drink.
Yeah.
So, and out of that came my career.
So let me ask you this. You obviously the whole theme here is that you have a strong heart. So what was it about your childhood that allowed you to not only survive a plane crash, three heart surgeries, the heartbreak of Hollywood, and then to deal with things that are deep, like helping people through past lives and helping them get to better places? You're constantly dealing with heavy stuff. What were the seeds planted in you early on that have allowed you to have that strong heart, so to speak?
I would have hoped it was a supportive family, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
And because it wasn't, I got strong. So understand, at 6 years old, I had malnutrition. That's when my mother left my father. Okay. I mean, I thought everybody left at 2 o'clock in the morning and snuck out of their house to move, right? I mean, that's what we had to do.
yeah,
So I had court battles from then to when I left home, mother and a father fighting each other that were divorced. Okay. So when you don't get what you love in life, you don't get that nurture, you have to start creating it. So I became a cheerleader. Got good at sports. I channeled my energy another way, but I didn't get the basis yet of a spiritual. I went to church, but every time there was a divorce, I got four new religions. So that wasn't working for me either.
yeah,
And then I had the heart surgery. And during that surgery, I felt like a white light, or that near death experience people talk about.
yeah.
That's what I felt. And that changed me right there. There was something more important. There was something different. Didn't understand it at 16, but it was there. And then at 24, when I was Miss Hawaii, living in Hawaii, I met my spiritual mentor. And he's the one, George, what a boring name, George from Oklahoma, good old boy. He was the one that would sit down and we'd have talk after talk. Why are people born blind? Why do people get divorced? Why are there wars? Those are the questions that kept coming up in me. I had this yearning to learn, not so much that I wanted to learn everything from a book, but it was real life things. So then I started meditating, then I started asking questions, it's quiet time. So that's where it kind of all began. So my childhood didn't give it to me. Because it didn't give it to me, I had to start very early to figure it out alone.
So, of all the thing about getting to a better place or overcoming past life issues or just any adversity in general is that it requires risk. What's the biggest risk that you've ever taken in your life?
The biggest risk. Oh my gosh, that the biggest risk. Well, I adopted my daughter as a single mom. I thought that would be easy. Let me tell you, it's the hardest lesson in my life. It took me 11 adoptions. Maybe that should have been the clue that this was going to be a hard lesson, because you take a soul and you have some wisdom they don't have yet, and they won't accept it, because I got a stubborn one, right? That has to go her own path. But so was I. So I am the mom that understands it and gives her that insight, sees her fall and fall and fall again, like we all have to. But I think, because so many people said, are you kidding me? You're in your 40s, you're gonna adopt a daughter. How are you gonna do your company? I don't know. I'm still standing, but that was my hardest risk, I'll tell you.
So, what is it that gets you up every day that allows you to have this vigor and have this positivity and to be a survivor and to continue to want to just do the best you can in this life? What is that for you every day?
I think, Joe, there are days I hit rock bottom. We all do. The
Yeah.
challenges sometimes seem so great. And I go, I don't know if I want to go on. I've been doing this. I'm in my 70s now, and I'm like, do I really want to keep doing this? Getting up and facing that struggle and having another bill. But when I get in front of people and I see the aha moments they get, and everybody gets them at different times. Or I do a past life reading where I help someone clear something that's been bothering them for 25 years. That's the reward.
Yeah.
It isn't a big reward. It's not really a big financial reward, but it's an inner reward that I've been given this life. So I have to do something with it. I've gotten borrowed time. Look how many times I could have gone out. And I always say I went out to the other side and they sent me back because I wasn't done.
So when
That's what gets me up.
so when you were 16 and you saw that puncture of light and felt the other side,
Mhm.
how comfortable was it? Did you feel like, "Oh, wow, this is great, but I have more work to do." How did that transpire in that young brain?
In that young brain, I didn't know I had more work to do. I just knew that this was the most love and affection and easiness and honesty and purity I'd ever encountered in my life, ever. So that's what was like. I want to come back. And after that surgery, it was 3.5 hours. So nobody talks to you when you're 16 in a hospital. I have to tell you, my parents fought. My father won the court battle. He said I needed the surgery. My mother didn't. He took me to the hospital an hour and a half from my home. He dropped me off for 5 days. I went through surgery alone. And he had a court battle on my mother, and she wasn't allowed to come. And she was the good one. So when I got out of that surgery and felt that white light, I just had this burst of energy that went through me. And I remember I was walking down the hall the same day, and a nurse yells at me, "Get back in bed." I don't know I'm supposed to be in bed.
Yeah,
Nobody talked to me.
sure.
So, but it was that purity that I know anybody that's ever crossed over and come back, they know they're here for a reason. They might not know exactly what that reason is at the time, but there's a purpose to their life.
You
Yeah.
know, from the earliest moments of my life, when I started thinking about spirituality and theology, you always think about, well, who made God? You know, the big,
Yeah.
big question, the
Right.
big card in the deck. And now at 52, when I hear these stories, and I've heard them here and there, everybody that tells me they've seen the light or they've gotten close to the other side,
Mhm.
that's the closest religious experience that I can
Yep.
collectively take and say this is empirically 100% a part of what should make people feel comfortable on this planet and what can be on the other side and what we're doing here and why we're doing what we're doing, you
Yeah.
know? And I've never heard anything other than that. I even remember my father, he passed in '08. At one point, he had one of those experiences where he saw the light. And I think he even said that it felt comfortable. And it's just, it's wild how those moments, it's that whole adage in life. Everything that you really want is right in front of you. It just
Yes,
is.
it
Like these
is.
stories. It's like
Mhm.
you can hear these for stories and they're great stories, but if you take stock and really absorb what it means, because we've been here long enough, you can put it all together in some little chronological way, or you can stack it up for it to make sense, and that makes sense to me. You know, that's an epiphany of the highest order.
Well, I think so because it's so pure, it's honest, and it's kind of like a telepathic communication. Like I could read your mind, you could read mine on the other side when you're communicating, so nobody can lie.
Yeah.
It's like you just read that energy, and it's pure. And I had it so many times. I had it definitely during the plane crash. I had it during my cancer surgery and for melanoma. I had it during my open heart surgery. I even had it for the last one. And I did see family and friends on the other side also. They're kind of like you don't see the whole thing, just like kind of a head and the
Yeah.
shoulders. You just, yeah. Mhm.
So there's a podcast out called the Telepathy Tapes. My son's on the autism spectrum. His name's Miles. He's 20. And somebody at one point I was talking about Miles and they had mentioned these tapes. There are kids, autistic kids, that are nonverbal that can read minds and they've verifiably made it. They've verified it. It's one of the strangest, what not even strange. It's one of the most unbelievable things I've ever listened to, and it's totally verifiable. Like people were in the other room, they filmed the whole thing, and the kids
Right.
are reading minds, and it's crazy. Like they can't give the kids Christmas presents. They can't tell them at the end of the day we don't have any more chips in the bag because I want to eat them when you go to bed because they know they've read their minds. They know what's going on. Like it's
I
crazy.
I love hearing that. See, there's so many things we don't know because
Yeah,
we're on this one dimension. So we think
absolutely.
that's the way it is, where there's all these other dimensions. If you open up the
Yep.
possibilities that this is just not it, and there's a bigger purpose here,
Yeah.
and it's about love and it's about kindness and it's about understanding, it's about helping. And I'm not even saying in a big way, if you just
Sure.
help in your little community
That's
in a
it.
small way, or neighbors or friends or at the library, that makes a difference on this planet.
Yeah, it certainly does. So, of
Yeah.
everything that you've done and more importantly evolved into as a human being, what are you ultimately the proudest of?
Oh my gosh. That I think when I came in this life, I had so many fears growing up. I had so many uncertainties. I mean, that's why you go to Hollywood. You want that love, you want that acceptance. I had so many failures, but I kept plodding through it. I think the most important thing now is that I have an inner peace I didn't have before. Boy, I wish I would have claimed this a lot earlier in my life because the drama and the trauma go away. I see that energy coming and I don't want to get in it. I don't
Uh-huh.
have to get in it.
Uh-huh.
I can be part of the solution,
That's
but
wisdom.
my inner peace. So if I'm peaceful, then I can offer that to other people.
So, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you family, friends,
Mhm.
clients, everyone that sees you speak, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh no, I'm a student. I have so much to learn. I have so much to learn. But I know now that I'm a catalyst in people's lives. I shake them up to think. That's what I want to do. And I'm a communicator. I communicate so people can get there. But no, I keep working on improving me and getting calmer and listening. There's so much more to learn. So I'm a student. Yeah. But I'm still standing. That's the
Yeah.
good one. I'm still standing.
So, have you ever had a client that wanted you to kind of look at their past and figure things out, and you were a little bit resistant, but you went on ahead and did it, and it was revelatory. It made you grow. It made you change. Did you ever have a moment like that?
I think so. Because some people do, they're whatever, but I learn from that past life.
Yeah.
Now, after I do a past life, I totally forget it because I'm channeled.
Yeah.
Okay. But if it's one of those, when I see that's what they had to go through during that war, that's what they learned from going to war or whatever. I'm not saying I justify anything, but yes, there have been many of those times I go, aha. That's why that existed during the world at that time. Not saying it's good or bad, but that's why. So, yes. Mhm.
So you have quite a perspective in a way that a lot of us may not because you can see things and you can channel into different realms. There's so much talk about how weird the world is, how many things are scary and uncertain and strange, and people get into end times and all of these things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, when you channel all of this in and look at what's going on in 2025, are you hopeful for where we're going as human beings?
I am not immediately. This is how I describe it. When we have not been truthful on this planet, and that includes everyone, and we focused on things that weren't for our highest and best good, like money and power. So imagine you have a wound on the front of your leg, and it's really the whole front of your leg, and you've covered it up, and it's been covered up, to heal, but it doesn't heal. You rip off that wound, and all you see is pus. That's where the world is right now. But from that pus, and we have to start getting honest and we have to start getting truthful and working together and accepting and going back to our communities. I am very hopeful for the future. But do I see a tough time? Absolutely. But do I see people growing from it? Absolutely.
So, as a very effective speaker yourself, what's the best speech you've ever witnessed?
I don't know. I have no idea the best speeches. I have no idea. Um, because it wouldn't be a big famous one because I've seen so many. It would probably be somebody just being so honest and vulnerable with their life and raw. That was be the speech that moves me.
One time, Bill Clinton came to Kansas City and spoke at the Truman Library, and literally it was like there was two people at the doors that opened it up like he was coming in for his State of the Union. I had never ever witnessed something where the particles in that room instantly changed.
Wow.
Like he
See?
and it was 10 years ago. I still remember everything he talked about, that whole speech. Like there was a charisma, there was a way, there was
Mhm.
that thing. No matter how you fall politically, like the
Right.
what he can do in front of a microphone is
Right.
astounding.
The one who did Desert Storm? Who was the one that was at Desert Storm? I saw him speak.
Norman Schwarzkopf?
Yes,
Yeah.
I you like that. He walked in that room. You got it now. Yeah, and that audience of 5,000 people. It was in San Francisco. It was electric, and I remember I didn't have seats, so I got somebody's badge. I walked all the way down to the front because I know there's seats in the front, right? So I was in about the fifth row, and they said the guy is yelling at me on the side, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "Oh my God!" I didn't just ignored him, right? Because I wasn't moving. I wanted that
That's
energy.
right. That's great. I always tell my stepdaughter, act like you belong there. Just you walk
Yeah,
in, you belong, no
right.
matter what. That's it.
That's a good one.
That's it. So, Donna, if anyone wants to reach out, learn more, hire you, any of the good business, where do they go?
Right. Well, I have a website under my name, Donna Hartley. So that's Donna Hartley, HARTLEY.com. Now, Hartley is my last name. You think I would have figured that out earlier that I had a karmic lesson with my
Oh,
heart, right? So it's
right in front of
donnahartley.com.
you.
Right in front of me. Yeah. They'll see a plane crash on the website and past lives and speaking. So they can contact me through that website. Yeah,
So, do you still get on airplanes?
I do.
Okay, I
Um,
figured so.
yeah. It took me, I mean, I had to fly right away because I was on assignment to Miss Hawaii to MC the Miss Hawaii pageant.
Yeah.
So I won the pageant 8 years before that. And here, 8 years later, karma caught up with me. I was on that. But about 2 to 3 years, I was afraid.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I realized my destiny wasn't to die in a plane.
Yeah.
So I'm flying to Scotland in a few weeks to speak. So, yep, I fly.
I knew the answer to it before. You have a tenacity, so it shines. Donna, this has been an honor. It's so great to meet you. I'm so glad that I've had this chance to spend a little time with you. Thank you for an incredible story, and best of luck with everything.
Okay, thank you. You were a great interviewer. These were fabulous questions. I had to really think on a lot of these. So keep up the good work. Keep spreading the good word. Thank you.
Absolutely. You too. Thank you.
Hello, friends. Joe Dimino here. I just wanted to let you know that after 30 years or so, I have finally released my first book of poetry through the mighty Spartan Press here in Kansas City, Missouri. As the creator and host of both Neon Jazz Radio and the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino podcast, along with being a visual artist, I'm ready to embark on a new adventure and want you to be a part of it. You can get a copy online via Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and actually on the streets in Kansas City at the great Prospero's bookstore off 39th Street. You can also visit joedimino.com for links to the book, to more poetry, and everything in my world, including paintings. Thanks for all of the love and support over the years, and please dig the words.